Good afternoon, my followers. I am just today here in my own garage. Busy. I just opened the box. So it comes in this box, big box, the Double Black Offroad Fender Flares. Now you get two different versions, sizes of this one. One size is 2 inches, and if you've got really big wheels on your car or your vehicle, you're gonna need the bigger one, which is the 2.5 inch. Now currently on my Jeep I do not have really large tires, you know. I've just taken off these ones, which are the trail Nito grapplers, the mud terrain ones. I've taken them off earlier, put some other wheels on and some Maxxis tires, the 285 by 70 by 17s. So not the biggest tires, but they do poke a little bit with my new wheels. So I was informed on the page, my Facebook friends, that I need to get some of these bad boys. Now, this is the Fender Flares, like I said, from Double Black Offroad in Melbourne. I've bought myself the 2.5 because I'm dreaming big, you know. One day, hopefully, I can get those 40s on my wheels. And then these blokes will help for the poke, you know, because coppers are always a little bit hard on us, you know. So anyway, so today I'm just going to quickly prep these. Now they told me that I need to use my sanding paper so that I can scuff it up a bit before I do the primer, and then after that I will do my first coating. So I will show you how that works. Okay people, so I was told that I need to use a sanding paper to sand all the roughness off of it first. But I think this might be a little bit too rough, you know, because I bought one of these 400 grit sandpaper, but I mean this thing can scratch any paint of any surface. I think it's too rough. But if you go over your I'll do a little finer one after, but I'm just sanding it slightly, and then I'm going to wash it before I do the primer, because there's a little bit of imperfections in this thing and I need to get that out, you know, the little imperfections that comes with this raw plastic needs to be taken out. Now I don't have a big table with clamps and everything on it. That's why I bought this little bloke from Super Quick Auto, because they told me that that's the best way to do it. So what I'm doing is I'm just scuffing this up a little bit so that the primer can stick to it. Apparently that's what you do. Okay, let me just stand a bit further, because somehow my camera, there we go. So my work table is my tires, you know. But anyway, so I'm scuffing this up a little bit, just to get all the imperfections out and just to make it nice and smooth. And then I'll wash it. Now after this one, I'm going to take a fine, like a 2000. Let me just see what I bought. I bought let me just get my trusty scissors as well. I also bought the P2000. Now according to everybody, the P2000 might be the better one to go with when you work with your fenders, you know. So this thing is pretty cool. You just press those two little black thingies in. It opens it up at the top here, and you can take this little piece off. It just makes it easier to then cut your next little slice of sanding paper, you know. You cut it like that. Make sure you cut it long enough. And then you cut it like this. And once you're happy with your size, the easy bit now comes. You just fold this over like that. So you put your one side in there, fold it over, put the other side into the other bit. And if you properly measured it beforehand, this should normally work pretty easy. But not as easy while you're doing a video and then you also want to cut, you know. So I might have to edit this part a little bit so that I make it look very easy once it's edited. Because you know, it always looks easier on TV than in real life, you know. Now I need to make sure that I extend these blokes nice and far. Get all the little nips and tucks in there. And once it is under this, now you'll see. Oh, maybe just extend it a little bit further that way. Now if you're like me, you're gonna let go of a few swear words while you do it, because it never works exactly like you want it to. Anyway, so there's my P2000 grit, and I'm just gonna quickly go nice. Oh, this is better, I think, much better. Oops, nice, better. I think it's much better. Nice and not too rough. You can still take all your imperfections out, which I'm doing right now. I'm just going over all these little imperfections, because I know that's the only way to clean it up. And they say then obviously after you've done that, you wash it with only water. You just wash it first. Let me just get this imperfection out. You see, much better. Now I'm just gonna quickly wash it under water, just with water, and let it dry before I'm gonna put the primer on. And then I'll come back to you and I will show you how to do stuff like this DIY with a few YouTube videos. Okay, so I'm back, people. There's still a few imperfections after I've washed it. I realized there's still a few more. So what you need to do is, obviously that's a little bit time consuming. It's going to take a bit of time. But if you can get all those little scuff marks out and just make sure that it's nice and smooth, you run your finger over it till it doesn't feel rough anymore, you know. Obviously, when you put the primer on, the primer will also fill up the little imperfections. Apparently, that's what they tell me. Now, I don't think I'm gonna sand the primer off again. Some people on some videos that I've seen on YouTube tells you to also take the primer off, but I don't think that's necessary, you know. So nice and smooth. Once you're happy with all of them, I'm gonna just do all of them first, and then I'll come back to you, and then I'll wash them quickly with water, and then I'll do the primer and I'll show you after. Okay. Okay peeps, I'm back. I've bought myself plastic primer filler to spray this. It does say it's for cars, motorcycles and homes. Apparently it does say that it is adhesion filling, so for plastics, which is what I've got. It does say here the color spec plastic filler is specific to the designed for the bumper bars is what I'm gonna paint, and automotive plastics, you know. So I can like to try this stuff on my bars. I'm not gonna read too much about it, but it does say step 1 is you need to prepare. So it says complete any repairs if necessary. I don't have any repairs to do. Yo, it does say here use 300 to 400 grit. I think the 400 was way too rough, you know. Sandpaper to feather out the edges. And then it says spray with a smooth, even overlapping side to side passes. And then it takes about 3 to 4 coats, allowing for 5 minutes to dry each time. Now I only have one. It says allow the final coat of plastic primer filler to dry for a minimum of 60 minutes, which, as you all know, it's 1 hour. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the first one. Let me just show you. I've set it up like this. Okay. So there's my 4 bumpers. Now I'm going to paint, obviously, the areas that are mostly involved with the part that everyone is going to see. And then I'll get back to you. Okay, so as you can see, I have now sanded them down with a light sandpaper, and then I've dried them down and I've now packed them so that I can paint them on the floor here in my garage. I will show you the final product, but I'm going to prime them first with this stuff. It is specifically made for plastics, so I'm going to prime them. They were like maybe it's color spec plastic primer filler. I bought them at Super Quick Auto here in Australia, down under, for about 30 bucks a can. And I'll tell you, if one can actually cover this 4 pieces, hopefully it can. Okay people, so I have now coated my fenders with the primer. I've done about 4 coats, lightly coated, because the things are bubbling and rolling off of it if you go too quickly. But you'll see, it looks pretty good so far. I think I've covered most of it. I go this way. Don't go too thick at once, rather just go little bit by little bit. I did not cover the inside bits that's going to be connected to the vehicle that much, but I will paint it. I'm still in 2 minds if I need to paint the inside bits. Good morning. So today I have now sprayed all of this with the primer yesterday, and today I'm using a very fine little sandpaper. I think this is 1200 grit, and I'm just going to sand the surface lightly, because apparently that's what I need to do according to most of the websites. But they do say you need to stay away from the corners and the edges as much as you can, because otherwise you might just take off the primer, and then all your hard work from yesterday is kaput, you know. So I'm just going to keep doing this on all 4, and then I'll show you after what it looks like. I don't think you should be using something more than or something less than 100, what is this, 1200 grit. It's going to be too rough. You're going to damage the surface, because I've done about 4 surfaces of this primer yesterday, and I think if you go anything more than less than 1200, it's going to be too rough, you know. You want a smooth ride, if you know what I say. So all I'm doing is just getting the surface nice and smooth out. And then you make sure that all the dust is removed before you paint it, because I mean, that's just being stupid if you will paint anything and the dust is still on there, you know. I tried using a block, but obviously when it comes to these rounded edges, blocks don't work on that. I mean, that just does not work. So it's better to, I would say, to have one of those sponges that is about the same and flexible. If you can't find a sponge that is that 1200 or more grit, you're gonna have to do it just with a piece of folded paper like what I'm doing here, you know? But it looks pretty good. I'll show you the final product soon before I start to paint it. But I do think I did a pretty good job of this, you know. I'll come back. Okay, so I've now washed my fenders. Let me just show you. After I've obviously sanded them, I washed them. Now I'm going to put them under like this, and I think I'm just going to give it a coat of black on this side, just so that it doesn't look so funny. And then after it's dry, I'll turn it around and I'll do the proper side, that is the top bit. Okay, so I have just did 1 coat on the bottom of this fender, so that the little grayness that was there from the start is now also black. I'm just going to do about 1 paint, because I don't have more than 1 can, and I need to do about 4 coats on the other side still. So we'll see how that's going to go. Okay, so it seems like the paint is pretty much very liquidy, so you need to keep it very far from the actual fender not to make any drops or anything. So I have now just done the first coating, which doesn't look too bad for the first one, but I need to do another 3 or so. So I'm gonna have to buy another 2 bottles of paint, I think, to make sure that I get it nice and thick. Otherwise I'm gonna have to do this every month, you know. So this is what it looks like currently. I don't think it's too bad. Okay, so Super Quick Auto decided to run out of the previous paint I had. So I googled this one, which is the same brand, but it's called the Body Deadener. It's actually made for suppressing silence. The sound of silence, you know. I'm gonna try this one, but I've only done another layer, not too nicely done yet, but it does give it a really good texture, I have to say. So I'm gonna keep it like that, and I'm just gonna do a few more of these coatings.